Hello and welcome to the sixth edition of the KSPNtv Sports Center. My name is Liburio Gudino and I am your host for today. And we have expanded into showing you guys the results and standings for both girls and boys basketball and boys and girls soccer. So we hope you guys enjoy. We have started with high school sports. This is content we are sure you and other community members are interested in. Our goal is to expand into all Ventura County schools as KSPN was the original sports and weather channel that covered Ventura County. We also want to thank our sponsors, Pizza Man Dan, for his continued support. So now let's get into it as we always do with the Channel League girls basketball. A reminder, it's where Oxnard, Dos Pueblos, Buena, Ventura, Santa Barbara. So we're going to see here. Yeah, so we're about to see here which we're going to see the recent games first. And that is where we have Buena against Oxnard, with Buena winning that game 49-40. Then we have San Marcos again against Rio Mesa. San Marcos dominated 67-31. Then we have Santa Barbara against Pacifica. Santa Barbara won 51-34. And Ventura against Dos Pueblos. Ventura dominated from the second quarter on, and they won 68-33. Let's see now how this affected the standings. So Ventura is now in first place after Oxnard's loss with an 8-1 record. Then we have Oxnard with a 7-2 record. Buena is 6-2. Dos Pueblos 6-3. San Marcos is 4-5. Santa Barbara 2-6. Pacifica 1-7, and Rio Mesa is 0-8. Now let's see the upcoming games. These games will take place on Tuesday, in which we have Buena against Rio Mesa. Buena, after a big win against Oxnard, Rio Mesa have been struggling. Then we have Pacifica at Oxnard. Pacifica, they've been struggling all season long with Oxnard, one of the better teams. So Oxnard, the clear favorite. It's a rivalry game as well. Then we have Ventura at San Marcos. Ventura is the best team right now. They're on an 8-game winning streak. Let's see if San Marcos is able to stop it, as they have not been too bad themselves. Then we have Santa Barbara at Dos Pueblos, another game in which we have Santa Barbara, which has been struggling, and Dos Pueblos at home with a 15-7 record. So now let's go into the Channel League boys basketball, in which we have Oxnard in first place with a 9-0. Oh, wait, sorry. My apologies. And we do start with the games in which we have the recent games. Yeah, here they are with Santa Barbara up against Buena, in which Santa Barbara won 70-46. Then we have Rio Mesa against Dos Pueblos. Dos Pueblos actually started off really good in that first quarter. Then Rio Mesa came back and won 71-59. Then we have Ventura against Pacifica. Ventura won that game 71-43. And Oxnard against San Marcos. Oxnard won 67-56. Now let's see how the standings were affected by this. And now we have Oxnard still in first place with a 9-0 record. Then we have Santa Barbara with an 8-1 record. Ventura 6-3. San Marcos 5-4. Buena 3-6 as well as Rio Mesa, and Dos Pueblos 2-7, and Pacifica is in last place with an 0-9 record. Now let's look at today's games here. As we have here Rio Mesa against Buena, two teams that have not been too good this season. So we'll see what happens in that game. Then Dos Pueblos at Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara on a 5-game winning streak. Clear favorites there. Then Oxnard at Pacifica, rivalry game. And it's the best team against the worst team in league. Oxnard with a 9-0 record in league, and Pacifica is 0-9. So Oxnard clear favorites. But honestly, if you guys know rivalry games, anything can happen. Then we have I believe we had one game on top before. Yeah, we have San Marcos at Ventura. San Marcos on a 1-game losing streak. Ventura won their last game. So see if Ventura is able to get back on track there. Now let's go upcoming games that will happen on Wednesday. Then here is Santa Barbara against Oxnard, going to be an amazing game with one of the two better teams in this league. Santa Barbara with a 5-game winning streak, Oxnard 6-game winning streak. Can't miss that game. Then Buena at Pacifica. Buena is 9-13. Pacifica is 7-16. Although you may recall, Pacifica is 0-9 overall in league. So we'll see what happens there. And they're on a 10-game losing streak. Then San Marcos at Dos Pueblos. Both of them come from a loss. We'll see who's able to get back on track. Then we have Ventura at Real Mesa. Both of them actually have 7 wins. Real Mesa has just one loss, one more loss. So yeah, we'll see what happens in that game. Now, let's go into the Channel League girls soccer. We're going to see what happened last week. Recent games, Buena dominated Dos Pueblos 5-1. Then Oxnard and Ventura, an amazing game, 4-3. Then Pacifica against Santa Barbara, Pacifica won 3-0. Then Real Mesa also won 3-0 against San Marcos. Now let's go into the standings here, in which Buena is in first place with a 9-0-1 record. Oxnard in second with a 6-2-2. San Marcos is 5-5. Pacifica 4-4-2. Dos Pueblos 4-5-1. Real Mesa 3-5-2. Ventura is 3-6. And Santa Barbara is 1-8. Now let's look at the upcoming games. Dos Pueblos against San Marcos. So Dos Pueblos, if they're able to win this game, they'll be at 500. So they're definitely wanting to do that. Then Buena at Pacifica. Buena on a 5-game winning streak. Clear favorites there. Then Ventura at Santa Barbara. 2 teams that have been struggling. Santa Barbara has struggled a little bit more as they're on a 7-game losing streak. Then Oxnard at Real Mesa. Oxnard, one of the better teams. They did tie their last game, but they are the clear favorites in this game. Now let's go into Channel League boys soccer, in which we have recent games once again, in which Oxnard against Ventura. Oxnard won that game 3-2. Then we have Dos Pueblos against Buena. They actually tied. One of the first time we even see that 0-0 score. Then we have San Marcos against Real Mesa. San Marcos won that game 4-2. Then Pacifica against Santa Barbara, another great game, a game in which Pacifica barely won 4-3. Now let's go into the standings. So a big win for Pacific as they stay in first place after that, as they are 7-2-1. Then Santa Barbara and Ventura are both 6-3-1. Then Oxnard are 5-4-1. San Marcos 4-4-2. Dos Pueblos 2-5-3. Buena 2-6-2. And Real Mesa is 1-6-3. Now let's look at the upcoming games. Pacifica, the best team so far, will go up against Buena. Pacifica clear favorites. Then we have Santa Barbara at Ventura. Ventura, another one of the better teams. So yeah, they're wanting to get another win there. Then Real Mesa at Oxnard. Oxnard is 12-6. Real Mesa 8-8. Oxnard is the favorite. Then San Marcos at Dos Pueblos. 2 teams that have not done too good this season, but we'll see what happens in that game. Now, so yeah, that was for the Channel League. There was a lot more variety. If you recall from the other team and from first place, we saw Ventura, we saw Pacifica. I believe Oxnard was in first place and won. So a lot more competitive in all of these, as you're going to see in the Citrus Coast League. That hasn't been the case if you've been watching the last episodes. Now let's go into that. The Citrus Coast League, this is where Santa Paula, Fillmore, Carpinteria. And yeah, as we've been seeing the girls basketball. Let's look at the standings. Let's look at the recent games, in which we have Malibu against Magnolia Science Academy, a game in which Malibu limited MSA to only 7 points in those 4 quarters. Impressive win by Malibu. Then we have Nordhoff against Wainimi. Nordhoff won that game 46-29. And this shocked me right here. Santa Paula 53-1. It's going to be really interesting maybe talking about that game. The fact that Fillmore only scored 1 point. We know Santa Paula has been dominating this season, but that is really, really hard to do to limit a team to only 1 point, basically just a free throw. That's really, really impressive. Then we have Carpinteria against Channel Islands, game in which Carpinteria won 45-29. So now let's go into the standings, in which we have seen for the last couple of weeks, Santa Paula in first place with an 8-0 record. Then we have Nordhoff with a 7-2 record. Carpinteria is 5-3. Malibu 3-4. Channel Islands 2-4. Fillmore 2-6, and Wainimi's in last place with an 0-8 record. Now let's see the upcoming games here. These games will take place on Tuesday. Oh, well, actually, we have one game today in which Channel Islands against Carpinteria. Carpinteria is having a really good season. Channel Islands so far has not. Now let's look at the upcoming games that will happen. This game will happen on Tuesday. It will be Fillmore at Malibu. Fillmore have been struggling, especially after that last game against Santa Paula. Malibu looking to have another impressive performance like they did against MSA. Then on Wednesday, Malibu will play once again, this time against Nordhoff. So we'll see how that game goes. Then Wainimi at Carpinteria. Wainimi's been struggling all season long, but they want that first win, but it will not be easy against Carpinteria. Then the Santa Paula on a 5-game winning streak, the most dominant team so far, going up against Channel Islands. With Santa Paula, we know is the clear favorite. Now let's go into Citrus Coast League boys basketball. The recent games here, we have Channel Islands against Carpinteria. Channel Islands winning that game 53-46. Then we had Nordhoff against Wainimi. Nordhoff won that game 46-43. Then another rivalry game, Santa Paula against Fillmore. This one was a lot closer, a game in which Santa Paula did win 59-49. Then Malibu against Magnolia Science Academy 5. Malibu once again dominated, just like in the girls' basketball, 69-29. Now let's look at the standings here. Santa Paula once again in first place with an 8-0 record. Then Channel Islands is 6-2. Carpinteria is 5-2. Nordhoff 3-6. Wainimi 2-5. Fillmore 2-7. And Malibu is in last place with a 1-5 record. Now let's look at the upcoming games that will happen on Tuesday. Malibu against Nordhoff. Malibu is a 4-10 record. Nordhoff actually has a 4-17 record, so they've been playing more games. See how that game goes. Then it's Fillmore against Trinity Classical Academy. This is a non-conference game. Fillmore have been struggling on a 7-game losing streak, and Trinity Classical Academy has been playing really good so far. Then Carpinteria against Wainimi. Carpinteria with a 10-10 record. Wainimi struggling with a 4-17 record. And the last game on Tuesday will be Channel Islands against Santa Paula. Channel Islands not having a bad season, especially with a 5-game winning streak. But we know Santa Paula, 6-game winning streak and 8-0 in league. Now let's go into Citrus Coast League girls soccer. We're going to see the recent results, in which we have Wainimi against Nordhoff. Wainimi scored 4 goals in the first half, and they won 5-0. Then another rivalry game, Santa Paula against Fillmore. So apparently it was rivalry the whole week. Then Santa Paula winning 3-2. They scored all 3 goals in the second half. Then Channel Islands against Carpinteria. They were tied, and they had to go all the way to overtime, and Channel Islands scored, and they won 1-0. Now let's look at the standings here. Once again, Santa Paula 8-0, 31 goals in favor and 5 against. That's really, really impressive so far by Santa Paula. Then Fillmore, second place with a 5-2 record. Wainimi 5-3. Carpinteria is 4-4-1. Channel Islands 3-4. Malibu is 1-5-1, and Nordhoff is in last place with an 0-8 record. Now let's look at today's games. Wainimi at Channel Islands. Wainimi on a 2-game winning streak, and Channel Islands have been struggling so far. Then we have Nordhoff against Fillmore. Nordhoff on a 9-game losing streak. They definitely want to get a win, but it will be hard as Fillmore is having a really, really good season. Now let's look at the upcoming games. These games will happen on Tuesday. So after playing Nordoff, Fillmore will go to Malibu. Malibu have also been struggling so far. So Fillmore have 2 games that they should win, but you never know. Then Channel Islands against Santa Paula. Santa Paula in a 9-game winning streak. Very, very good season. Channel Islands has been struggling, but they did win their last game. Then we have Wainimi at Carpinteria. With Carpinteria has the better record so far, but Wainimi have won their last 2 games. Then Malibu at Nordoff, 2 teams. So once again, that have been struggling, but this is the game that Nordoff definitely wants to win in order to get a 1 win in the win there. Now let's look at the Citrus Coast League boys soccer. That is the last thing that we need here. Yeah, so we're going to see that here, which we're going to start off once again. Recent games. Santa Paula against Fillmore once again, and Santa Paula won 2-0. So they won all 4 of the rivalry games this week. Then we have Nordoff against Wainimi. Nordoff won 2-1. And then we have Channel Islands against Carpinteria, the game in which Channel Islands won 3-0. The Malibu at Fillmore game we unfortunately don't have. But now let's look at the standings. And like the other 3 sports, Santa Paula is in first place with a 7-1 record. 24 goals in favor, only 2 goals against. Impressive by the Cardinals. Then we have Channel Islands with a 5-1-1 record. Nordoff 4-4-1. Wainimi is 3-3. Fillmore 3-4-2. Carpinteria is 2-6-1. And Malibu is 0-5-1. Now let's look at today's game. There's only one, in which Channel Islands against Wainimi. Channel Islands, one of the better teams in this league, and Wainimi has been struggling. Now let's look at the upcoming games. This game will happen on Wednesday. Nordoff at Malibu. Nordoff on a 2-game winning streak. Malibu on a 5-game losing streak. Then Santa Paula against Channel Islands. 2 really good teams. And overall, Channel Islands actually has a better record with a 10-2 record. But Santa Paula obviously is 7-1 in league and with a 6-game winning streak. But that's going to be a really, really good game. Then we have Carpinteria at Wainimi, 2 teams that have been struggling so far this season. So yeah, we have a lot more information for you guys now. So we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. My name is Liburio Gudino, and we are out.